I do have the defense attorney from MJ, Mike Terry, who will hang around if you want for a little bit. He defended Michael Jackson in 2005 in the charges, and he was acquitted on all 14 counts. He's a regular to this show. He joins us for the Michael Jackson birthday bash. I'm talking about the one and only Tom Mesereau. Good evening, Tom. How are you? It's King Jordan.
I'm doing fine, Jordan. Thanks for having me again. I always enjoy it, and you're a real loyal supporter of Michael Jackson, and I admire you for it, and thanks for having me again.
Okay, you're on the phone with Kerry Anderson, bodyguard, and Mike Garcia, former bodyguard.
How you doing, guys? Hi, Kerry and Mike. Nice to talk to you.
Hey, Tom. How you doing? Pleasure to meet you.
How are you? Doing all right, thank you.
Awesome. So, so how's everything with you, Tom?
Everything's fine, just busy. You know, Susan, you and I run our law firm in Los Angeles, and we get a lot of calls. We're very blessed with business, and life is fine. I'm not complaining about anything.
Yeah, we were talking earlier about the media and Diane Diamond in particular and Stacey Brown. Now, Stacey Brown did say some unflattering things via his Twitter account about you, as I told you, and I'll just bring that up to date so the listeners know what I'm talking about. Somehow the link of something of the show got linked to Stacey Brown, and he replied words to the effect of, Tom Mesereau saved the pedophile. Words to that effect. I want to get your response on that.
Well, if Stacey Brown doesn't like me, that makes me feel very good. Stacey Brown, you know, I'd like more enemies like that. Stacey Brown, in my opinion, based on everything I saw and heard, was in the prosecution's pocket during the 2005 trial. He wanted Michael Jackson convicted. He wanted him convicted. He published this ridiculous book that was one of the most poorly written books I've ever read. Towards the end of the trial, I think the timing was designed to hurt Michael Jackson and increase the chances he would be convicted. And he was no friend of the family as far as I'm concerned, and no friend of Michael Jackson. That's my opinion. And he seemed in utter shock when Michael Jackson was acquitted. In fact, I think he went on court TV and used the words that, you know, I'm shocked. I was told by someone else that he was with the prosecutor when they called Gavin Arvizo to let him know that Michael Jackson had been acquitted. That's what I was told. I wasn't there. I don't really know. But as far as I'm concerned, he was one of Michael Jackson's enemies. He wanted him convicted from everything I saw. And he's no friend of mine, and I'm no friend of his. And I don't even think he's worthy to be called a journalist. I think he's a wannabe tabloid reporter.
Yes, I second that motion. Stacey Brown called himself a friend of the family to him during the trial back in 2005. Do you know any information like that? If he was a friend, he certainly wasn't a good friend because of the negative things he did and said. Maybe some of the family members, at least.
I have never understood how he could call himself a friend of the family. If family members have continued to talk to him, I don't understand why they would do that. He clearly wanted Michael convicted. He clearly stewarded his reporting and his statements about the case to see Michael Jackson convicted. That was my impression. He was not objective, and I think his testimony and the book he wrote were all designed to help the prosecution. That was my opinion. You know, I've never, to my knowledge, ever met the person, and nor do I want to. I consider him a violent thief. Yeah. He and Diane Diamond are clones of each other.
Oh, Diane Diamond for sure. Diane Diamond's another one. Wasn't Diane Diamond sued by MJ in the 90s?
Yes, she sued. Michael Jackson sued Diane Diamond, I believe, for libel or slander or both. And Tom Sneddon rose to her defense, submitted a declaration, and I think the case was eventually dismissed.
Very interesting.
The fact that she had been sued by Michael Jackson and they still used her as a reporter, I always found very troubling. Why would Court TV, an organization that had a very strong reputation and a very unique name in the field of coverage of trials, why would they name their chief reporter, someone whom Michael Jackson had sued? I think that was an invitation to get very unobjective reporting, and I think that's what happened.
I happen to agree with you. I mean, long after he's been dead, they're coming out with stories. It's like, is it really important for Stacey Brown to publish a story about MJ after he's been gone? And after this maid already, I think you cross-examined her, if I'm not correct, said some nasty things about Michael.
Well, I just don't understand, he ought to get a life, in my opinion, and, publishing something like he just did, allegedly quoting maids and saying, disparaging things about Michael Jackson. What's the point? It's almost like he can't let go of the subject matter because he has nothing else to do. And I've always felt that Stacey Brown and Diane Dimond both feel that their careers were shattered when Michael Jackson was acquitted. I really always felt that they built their career on this man being convicted and then they're being valuable to various news outlets, media outlets in the future because they could comment on his rise and fall. That was always my perception. And I think their careers fell apart when he was acquitted on every single charge, 10 felonies and 4 lesser-included misdemeanors. I think it shattered their belief in what their futures would be. That's my opinion. It's just based on my perception of the two of them.
Absolutely. Now, Mike, you were with Diane Dimond, and she was pretty negative on that show during the Murray trial. What's your take on what Tom is saying?
I agree. Sitting here listening to him speak, in my thoughts, I'm kind of thinking that maybe she was, with this interview in which that I was there at, that maybe she was trying to, vilify herself and try to get her respect back. I just don't have nothing. Like Terry alluded earlier, to me, she's not even worth talking about. She's just, she's something else.
Terry, let's get your take on it, on Diane Dimond. You were there. You were you saw her news reporting. What's your take?
I don't know. I just thought that she had a personal vendetta because she was not reporting the facts. Like I say, Tom would do an amazing job and just fillet the prosecution's witnesses and everything, under cross-examination. And then you'd get out and see Diane Dimond reporting that, their testimony was so damaging, which was totally a lie. And I don't know, it just looked like I was not privy to that information that Michael sued her. But it looks like she had a personal vendetta against him, and she didn't do an ethical job in terms of reporting what she actually saw. I think a journalist should have some kind of level of, some kind of standard that they should have and follow and abide by, And she didn't do that, along with a couple others, but she was definitely a ringleader of it, I tell you.
I read her book, which apparently she made a book deal before the verdict had come in. And I don't know if you've looked at the coverage of the verdict on verdict day. Watch her coming out of the courtroom. She looks like a truck ran over her. I mean, she looks pale as a ghost, like she's just in a state of shock. And I noticed in her book, and she calls herself a very professional journalist. She never mentioned the 4 misdemeanors that he was acquitted of, as I recall. She mentioned the 10 felony charges, and when I saw that, I was wondering if, and again, I haven't read the book in a long time, but I did read it, and clearly it was written at a time when she was shattered. She had to leave Court TV. I think it was the following October and November. I don't remember because a reporter for the New York Post called me and wanted my comment, and I refused to give a comment. I just didn't want to get involved in that. The trial was over. We prevailed. Justice was done, and I didn't want to get involved in that. But as I recall, she didn't even mention the misdemeanor acquittals in her book. Maybe that was just too much for her. I don't know. But I always felt she was just trying to help the prosecution, and I think everyone knows that She was at Gavin Arvizo's wedding, I believe, with Ron Zonin and with the witness, Louise Palanker, whom Zonin called in the prosecution case, and then married.
Right.
She seems to, my opinion is she has some type of bond with, the prosecutors and the Arvizos, and that's her right and privilege, as a free member of society. I just don't think very much of her for many different reasons. And I'll tell you, the funny thing is, I didn't know her history with Michael Jackson when I got in the case. She had covered my defense of actor Robert Blake in his murder case for Court TV. And I was defending Blake in a 3-week televised preliminary hearing on Court TV that she covered, and she was very complimentary of me. And when I first appeared in Santa Maria, I saw her, and I had no knowledge of her history with Michael Jackson. I actually went up to say hello. And, she returned the greeting, but there was something off. And I remember there was something in the corner of her eye that just disturbed me. I remember I went to Susan Yu and said, I wonder what's wrong with Diane Diamond. I went to say hello to her, and something seemed cold about her. And, of course, then I found out what the history was. And it all made sense.
Wow. Now, Jimmy Saves Chuck's cousin allegedly on a Twitter that's been taken down, a post read words to the effect of, no, nothing happened to us, because it was like right after Wade's allegations. So they went to him apparently for an interview, so he put out a statement allegedly saying words to the effect that Mike was the greatest thing. Me and Jim were cool with Mike. Can that be used in trial? If there is a trial, and how damning is that, if it's authentic?
Well, I'm not, in that case. The estate is not, talking to me about the case. They don't confide in me. They don't ask me for my thoughts about any of it. And, I hear bits and pieces about what they're doing. But as far as a statement like that goes, I mean, if Jimmy Safechuck were to testify in a trial, and if one of these witnesses, whether they're related to him or not, can contradict him and say he said something that was, the opposite, they would have value, to the defense. But I don't know exactly what allegedly was said or not said. I have my concerns, as you know, Jordan, about that case. And my concern is, although I think Howard Weitzman is doing an excellent job representing the estate, because the estate's doing well as a business, because of his history with Jordy Chandler and perhaps Jason Franzia. And when I say history, I mean a history of settling child molestation cases involving, Michael Jackson as the alleged perpetrator. He did settle the Jordy Chandler case. He signed the settlement agreement, and he appeared at the press conference to announce it. I've said that to you before, and if you go to David Guest's documentary, Michael Jackson, Life of an Icon, you'll see Howard Weitzman at the press conference to announce the settlement. I know that his firm a few years later settled the Jason Franzia case. I don't know if he was directly involved in that or not. Nor do I know if he signed the settlement agreement or not. But the problem is that the plaintiff's lawyer, who is very good, I've met him on a number of occasions, and I know his reputation. He's very good. He knows he's facing lawyers who were with Michael Jackson when he settled these cases. John Branca just is not a litigator, but John Branca was Michael's music lawyer and entertainment lawyer during this period, and reportedly, according to Randall Sullivan, Branca wanted Michael to settle these cases, didn't think emotionally and physically he was, up to going to trial. And as I said before, if that were his views, I understand why, because many people in the criminal case didn't think Michael could withstand a long trial, emotionally and physically. But I think these are the wrong lawyers to be facing a top plaintiff's lawyer like Mr. Gradstein. And I don't think personally that if they can't get these cases dismissed by a judge, and I hope they can, because I think it's outrageous to have these cases filed years after Michael passed away. And I'm hoping a judge will throw them out. But if a judge doesn't throw them out, I don't think Branca and Weitzman have the courage to try these cases in a public forum. I don't think they're going to risk it. And I think you may see them scrambling to settle it. And I would hate to hear that millions of dollars were paid to settle one of these cases that seems so bogus to me.